Hey Fuji friends, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the film simulation bracketing feature, an underutilized yet extremely valuable feature found in our Fujifilm X cameras. It's especially valuable for photographers who just want to press the shutter button, get a beautiful photo in the camera, and then be done with it. After all, that's one of the reasons why we love these cameras, is for those film simulation modes where we can identify a look or a style or a mood that we want our photo to have, select the appropriate film simulation, press the shutter, and then not have to worry about wasting any time processing that raw file later on because we've nailed it in the camera. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the different film simulation modes in this video because it would just be way too long. So instead, I've linked to a blog post I did in the description here where I've done a comprehensive comparison of all of those different film simulation modes. Now, that's part of the fun and the challenge of using these cameras is identifying the appropriate film simulation. There are times, however, where you say, well, this landscape would look great with vibrant colors and a lot of contrast, but it also might look good as a black and white. Which film simulation should I use? I don't know. I don't want to process anything later on, but I'm stuck. This is a great example of when you would use film simulation bracketing. So how do you set that up in the camera? Well, the first step has actually nothing to do with the camera. The first step is where you need to identify which 3 film simulations you might want to use for this photo. And you have to select 3, no more, no less. That's just how it's set up. But don't just pick 3 film simulations at random. Try to have a thought process of why you are selecting each one. Let's look at an example to see how I have a thought process in one of my photos that I used film simulation bracketing. So I'm in this colorful cemetery in Guatemala. A lot of the tombs and crosses have really vibrant colors, which would look good with the Velvia film simulation to give them a lot of saturation and a lot of punch. However, it's a cemetery, so is that really appropriate? I might instead want to use the classic chrome simulation for a more subdued, somber look. Or I could compromise between those two and select the Astia film simulation, which is a little more neutral and one of my favorite film simulations for travel photography. So what I'm going to do is I've identified those 3, I've identified reasons why I want those 3, and then I'm going to go ahead and set that up in my camera. So to set these up in the camera, you're going to go to the Shooting Setting menu, and from there go into the Drive Settings submenu. When you're in the Drive Settings submenu, go into Bracket Setting, and then scroll to Film Simulation Bracket. When you get into Film Simulation Bracket, you will see Film 1, Film 2, and Film 3. In each one of those, go ahead and assign the film simulation that you want for each of these 3 slots. Once you have those set, go ahead and back out and select Bracket Select. When you go into Bracket Select, you are going to identify which bracketing mode you would like to shoot in. In this case, we're going to select Film Simulation Bracket. Once we're ready to start taking the photos, we're going to move the drive dial to the bracket BKT mode, and this could be either with a button or a dial as seen here on the XT2. And then all you need to do is press the shutter button once, and that camera is going to make 1 exposure, but then it's going to create 3 copies of that exposure and apply the 3 different film simulations to each of those 3 photos. And after seeing what these 3 photos look like, you know what? I'm going to stick with the Velvia, my initial gut feeling, because this cemetery and those colors, it's all about a celebration of life and not death. Now there are 3 important things to remember when you are using film simulation bracketing. The first one is that all of the settings that you have in the image quality settings are going to be applied to all 3 copies when you're using film simulation bracketing. So specifically pay attention to the highlight tone and the shadow tone, which controls your contrast, and then the color setting, which controls your saturation. The second thing to remember is that some Fujifilm cameras, like the X100F, will only allow you to use film simulation bracketing if you are only recording the JPEG file format. Now, this is a feature that is especially useful for people who are only recording the JPEG file format, but other cameras like the X-T2 and X-T3 will allow you to use film simulation bracketing if you are only recording the RAW file format. Now, I don't know why you would do that, because you're just going to end up with 3 identical RAW files that are going to have to be processed anyways. It's a waste of storage, so I would only use this feature if you are recording only the JPEG, or RAW plus JPEG if your camera model allows you to do that. And then the final thing I want you to think about is that this should only be used as a last resort. If you just don't know which film simulation you want to use, go ahead and go into film simulation bracketing. But you should always, every day, just as a creative exercise, try to identify the vision that you want for that photo before taking the photo. Select the film simulation that would best match your vision and then take that photo. If you just can't pick one film simulation for that, then go into film simulation bracketing. But you're not really going to evolve as a creative photographer if you're just every day using film simulation bracketing with no thought about the film simulation that you have and then selecting what you like. Try to be proactive, do it ahead of time, and then knock yourself out with this feature if you have to. Stay tuned to this channel for even more videos about Fujifilm cameras, mirrorless camera photography, and travel photography in general. If you want to really dive into it, you can head over to my online courses where I will be releasing new content every month. I've got a brand new flagship program that I'm really proud of called Mastering Mirrorless Travel Photography. It's full of quizzes, tests, downloads, assignments that I will personally review for you and give you feedback on. It's really a great way to get a solid understanding of your mirrorless camera and how to use it in travel photography. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.